Katie Brown. Welcome back to the channel. I've been gone for a while, but now I am back, and we're going to be jumping into some r/fat people stories. Mixing it up a tiny bit, and let's jump into it. In which I date the poster child for fat logic. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. So reading all these stories on here has reminded me of my ex-boyfriend. Normally, I date people who are larger side, I guess because I like cuddles, and this one really took the cake. I'm not exactly secretive about my former eating disorders, so obviously to someone that I'm dating, my eating habits are a bit weird. Normally this isn't an issue for people beyond them being concerned about me, so I didn't think it'd be an issue for this guy who seemed self-confident enough, even though he was a bit on the larger side. Okay, a lot on the larger side. Apparently I was wrong though. At first he just asked me for diet advice and to help him stick to his diet, which he was trying to cut out soda. I thought that was a good start, so I supported him entirely, including reminding him not to buy soda. He asked me to keep him on track. However, eventually he decided that I was being too controlling. Okay, maybe I was, so I decided to back off and not comment on his eating or soda drinking at all. So I thought things are going to be fine now. Nope. We ended up getting into a discussion about food and our perception of food. It started out fine as we're having a reasonable discussion about how I'm vegan and he's not, which didn't go as horribly as you would expect. And then he comes out with this bit of intelligence. Apparently fruits and vegetables are bad for you. I would take so many servings to get an actual nutrients that they are not worth eating. Also, apparently, the fact that they are low calorie, for the most part, is a bad thing. Which I guess is why he survived on Burger King and pizza, because more calories means it's healthier? The fat logic does not end there. One night, I spend the night, and he calls off work the next day, so we can spend all day together. It's about 2 p.m, and I'm happily surviving off 0-calorie Monster, because that's the kind of person I am, and he looks miserable for some reason. I ask him what's wrong, and he says nothing. So, trusting that someone in their 30s can be mature enough to be honest with his girlfriend, I decide to drop it and continue gaming since that's what we've been doing together. Then he randomly gets up and goes to the kitchen and microwaves something. He comes back 5 minutes later with a disposable plate of tortilla chips with melted cheese on top. Okay, gross, but whatever. He pouts while he eats this travesty, and I tried to ignore him and continue gaming. Then later that night, he gets upset with me. Apparently, the fact that he knows about my former eating disorder means that he decided I would judge him for eating, which I never have before, and it took all of his courage to eat those chips earlier. Please note, because of my eating disorder, I never comment on other people's food choices unless they specifically ask me to, because I know what it's like. I'm sitting there thinking, he's overweight, and because he's scared I will judge him for what he's eating, he decides to eat something that unhealthy and completely devoid of nutrients. Yeah, that makes sense. For the record, that was the only time he apparently felt awkward eating in front of me. We would often go out to restaurants together, and he wouldn't care that I only got a drink or two. Well, he got a full meal that was extremely unhealthy most of the time. And like many fat people, he was aware of his weight problem. But of course, it's everyone else's fault except his own. And while when we started dating, he said he wanted help losing weight, he never actually put any effort in. And this was despite having health issues that were related to being overweight, like a bad knee and difficulty sleeping. Oh well, he's apparently dating some overweight girl now, so I guess they're good for each other? I guess every story can have a happy ending. Alright, this one is simply called, "It's been really difficult dealing with my gigantic coworker. Can anyone relate?" Please excuse any typos. I'm writing this from a mobile device. More of a rant about what happened today, but I'll probably write a longer post about him at some point. His name has been changed. I manage a construction project and have been working with this company for a little under 10 months. About 2 weeks ago, a project engineer recently got transferred to my project site. Personally, Josh is easy to get along with and does his job, but his size has already made it hard to accommodate and work with him. I don't want to seem like an asshole. I have bigger friends and family members, but they don't compare to the enormity of Josh. I understand people don't need to discriminate when hiring, but the line has to be drawn somewhere. I had no choice in him coming to the project, and I don't want to step on any toes up the executive ladder, but I don't see this lasting for too long before I have to let him go. He's only 27 years old, and is easily one of the biggest people I've ever seen in my life. I'd guess at least 550 pounds. To give you an idea, he's so big he has to put half of his belly in his pants, and most of his pants are splitting at the crotch because of his belly pushing against it. I shit you not, he's broken every chair in the job site trailer, but doesn't seem like he gives a shit. Every fucking time I run into him at work, he's eating something. There's already been so much happening this past month that I plan on writing a more detailed post. But I was completely taken aback by what happened today, and I really need to share it somewhere. So I replaced the chairs in the trailer, but I asked Josh to work out of his truck as much as he could until the heavy-duty chair I ordered for him arrived. Today, he had to be rushed to the ER this morning because he fell out of his truck, but fortunately, he just has some bad bruising. He ripped the handle he uses to pull himself into the truck clean from the door frame and fell back pretty hard and hit the ground. I feel partially responsible because I asked him to work out of his truck more before this happened, so I'm just going to get him a new truck and hopefully fit him a little better. He was taken in an ambulance, so I had to drive his truck back to the office after leaving the hospital. I almost threw up on myself a few times while driving his truck. At first, I was thinking we could just get it repaired, but he's done such a number to it that it's unsafe for anyone to drive now. Josh flattened the driver's seat cushion so much, the seat's steel frame was warped. His truck smelled so much like a fucking toilet that I had to use a roll of paper towels to cover the seat before I got on. There was so much trash. It was truly disgusting. Curious, has anyone else had to work closely with someone who was extremely large? It's hard for me to wrap my head around how someone can become so massive, but I feel sorry for the kid sometimes. I mean, I have to agree, it's very difficult working around super morbidly obese people because of their specific accommodations and accessibility needs. No shaming. I absolutely can sympathize with this person, though, of not necessarily wanting to have to replace every single chair, provide special accommodations on a job site, and having no real say about who comes to his company. Is it discrimination? I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. It does seem if you're not capable of doing the job, which includes sitting at a standard desk for 8 hours a day, having to get up and do some mild walking, etc., maybe you aren't fit for the job. But regardless, I do hope this guy is okay. Falling to the ground can be pretty traumatic for anybody, depending on what they hurt. I am glad he just had bruises, and hopefully this is a bit of a wake-up call for him. All right, this next one is called Advice for Obese Narcissist. I love psychology, and especially how it interplays with food and our relationship to food. Me and myself, I'm a bit of an emotional eater and have recently lost 50 pounds myself. So I'm interested to see how this story unfolds with all of you wonderful people. Let's jump into it. So there's me, 21-year-old child. I'm overweight myself, but I'm spooked by my fat parents' habits and have been switching to a healthier lifestyle and losing weight. Then there's my mom, 250 pounds overweight and a narcissist. Really destructive combination. Now here's the full synopsis that people want to hear that will provide context to my advice. My mom had a shit childhood, which is where her narcissism stemmed from, and she's been obese for pretty much her whole life. I've been witness to 101 diets and programs that she's done in a lazy attempt to lose weight, looking for a magic fix that doesn't exist. Sounds like Amberlynn Reid. Unfortunately, I've been included in some of these, but I've thankfully wised up on how to actually be healthy. These included $200 weekly weight loss tracking appointments with Weight Watchers, gastric bypass surgery she almost died from and somehow reversed, fitness trainers, all gelatin diets, all protein shakes, Atkins, keto, etc., etc., etc. She never succeeds, and she always gives up because they're ridiculous and relapses twice as bad every single time. But the kicker here is she's a narcissist. When I started having success a year or so ago, I was trying to help her because I feel so bad for her. She's miserable and insecure and breathes heavy just from walking, and I feel like my mom is rotting in front of me. However, she takes any and all criticism as a personal attack, and she reacts violently. Like on one of these diets, she lost 15 pounds her first week, which is typical, so she estimated she was going to lose 60 plus pounds over a month. I told her not to set such big, unrealistic goals, and she told me to go screw myself, essentially. Cue her gaining 2 pounds, fluctuation, over a weekend, and then binging out of defeat and ultimately falling off her trendy diet like a week later. Also sounds like Amberlynn Reed. Then there was a time she insisted I buy her a McDonald's sundae because her cheat meals from earlier, carrot cake, pizza, smoothies this particular day, weren't good enough. She has this weird Last Supper mentality where she has to binge and binge and binge on cheat days because she has to eat healthy after. When I told her she does this every week and ruins a good 2 or 3 days of dieting, she freaks the fuck out and threatens to kick me out of the house. She just eats and has this weird pride about being fat because it helps her cope, I guess. Like, she puts up embarrassing decorations around the house. A plaque that says exercise, I thought you said extra fries, in the front hall. And wears clothes like big gulp problems, one chin goal weight, etc. Recently, we got in a really big argument because I didn't cut her a big enough piece of cake, and when I pointed out she was still on one of her diets, she flipped out. On top of it all, she's been giving me a hard time just for moving on to a healthier lifestyle, which I'm sure some of you saw coming reading this story, which she makes fun of me for doing yoga. She makes fun of me for switching to tea and water. Oh, so what, you're acting like a skinny bitch now? She makes fun of me for giving away food or not finishing it. I know there's a sub for narcissistic parents. Ooh, there is. I need to go check that out. But there's nothing I can do to fix that because her narcissism won't change. I come here because I feel like maybe, just maybe, I might be able to get something through to her enough for her to switch her lifestyle without her feeling insulted and imploding. Her health is going to decline rapidly if she keeps this up to her 50s, and I'd like to keep my mom around. Yes, I know narcissism makes her rude to me, but it has to get triggered first, so it doesn't happen often. The rest of the time, when her weight isn't the subject, she's okay to her kids because we learned how to work around her narcissism and keep peace. So yes, I do care about her health and her well-being still. So read this for enjoyment if you want, but those of you who have advice, give it. Okay, so this next one is, an obese lady shamed me for trying to lose weight. And from my personal experience, you'll run into this quite a lot when you start to lose weight. Let's jump in. Okay, so due to personal reasons, I am going to change names and the place that I live to not expose myself or my home. So let's call this lady Karen. She was obese. She had about 5 rolls and that Karen haircut. And for me, I gain weight due to meds. I take different antidepressants and anxiety medication. I was on a walk to lose at least some pounds, and this lady said, you should get it bigger in size. It would look nice on you. I looked at her and asked if she was talking to me. She said, who else would I be talking to? You seem like you want to lose weight that you have. And I explained to her about the medication that I'm on and that I'm self-conscious of my body. She simply rolled her eyes and said, what? Does the media tell you that? That's when I left, and then she waddled, that's the nicest way that I can put it, up to me and started going off about the thin privilege and how weight and health are not the same. And I still see her around town, but with a stained shirt and in a power wheelchair. That's pretty sad, but that's the reality. If you keep weight on you for a long time, especially into your older years, the wear and tear in your joints could easily take your mobility from you, and you could end up in a scooter simply because your knees are worn out or your ankles, even if otherwise you could still be walking. Lazy postal worker lied to avoid walking whatsoever. There was a "sorry we missed you" notice in my mailbox that the postal worker tried to deliver a parcel, but that no one responded to the doorbell knock. I was home all day. I checked my security cameras for that exact time period and saw our new postal lady, approximately 500 pounds, not even bother to take the mere 8 strides to my door by any means. Annoying. I proceed to just try and meet her at my mailbox on the next day's delivery attempt. But before I can even slip on my shoes and get out the door, she's already left another final attempt, no response slipped, and was zooming off from my neighborhood. With? What the fuck? I sprinted to the end of the street and just barely catch her at the postal truck. Thankfully, I'm a runner. Me. Hi there. So glad I got you. I was so confused why I keep getting these slips when I've been home for delivery each time. Can I please get my item from you? Lazy lady. Well, you never answered the doorbell every time I ring it, so that's why you get the notice. Me, the most incredulous look on my face. Ma'am, I have surveillance footage of you not even getting out of your vehicle. What you're saying isn't true. Sorry, can we please just get my mail sorted here? Sounds like your cameras are broken. Ridiculous. Sign this paper for me then. Rolls eye and readjusts on the tiny seat of the mail truck, of which I have no clue how said chair could be comfortable enough to not want to stretch your legs every now and then and ring a doorbell. I was just so shocked at the pure laziness and audacity of this woman to lie directly to my face like this when we both know she's completely full of it. I miss my old guy who was light on his feet and always friendly when he came to the door. Update. I decided to file a complaint. Today when she came back, I met her at my mailbox and asked her her name so that I could include it on my correspondence to the UPS. I didn't directly tell her I was reporting her. She does provide her name, but also goes on to say this gem. So actually, I didn't ring your doorbell because there weren't any cars in the driveway, so it's safe to assume in general that no one is home. Y'all, this set me over the edge. I told her I didn't understand why she's going through all the trouble to lie to me. We own multiple vehicles, and there were at least 2 or 3 in the driveway all day, each delivery attempt. She interrupts me mid-speech to say she didn't even bring the parcel with her today. It's still at the post office, and that I can go and get it there myself. What the fuck? I told her no, absolutely not. This is her job, and she's going to do it. I wrote out exactly what all has transpired on the report and sent it along with my video recordings. Let's see what becomes of it. And at this point, it doesn't look like there's any update, but that's pretty ridiculous. If you're not willing to do your job because you don't want to walk a couple extra feet, like, come on, yo. If you don't meet the physical requirements to do a job, you probably shouldn't have the job. This one is simply titled, My Mother Claims My Toddler Broke Her Couch. My mother just blamed my 34-pound daughter for breaking her new couch when, during a 4-month period when she lived with me, she's 320 pounds, 5'5", and my brother, 330 pounds, 5'7", broke the following things in my house. 2 toilet seats, a couch, a love seat, and a new twin bed frame. Since she's been in her own apartment, they've also broken a newer leather recliner and a steel Craftmatic bed I bought her, and another toilet seat. I'm sure there's other stuff that they've broken. It's been infuriating. I try very hard to be patient, but they destroy their own stuff and then come to my house and destroy my stuff when they visit. I constantly have to adjust toilet seats so they won't snap. Everything that breaks is poorly made, in her opinion. I won't even discuss further my daughter supposedly breaking their couch from hanging off the back when they broke my couch in the exact same spot. It's been a tough year since they've moved. She helped to move me with raising my daughter and away from an unhealthy relationship. My mother is helpless in a lot of ways and dependent on me. She's very hard of hearing, has poor vision, has numerous medical problems, can't drive, and her obesity doesn't make things any easier. My brother is autistic, and my mother has to chain the fridge to regulate his intake, but frequently gives in when she wants something herself. Confronting her only ends in a ton of tears. Doctors telling her to lose weight if she wants to continue to live much longer gets shrugged off and met with a, "I've done everything I can." I have my own issues with binge eating disorder, and listening to the excuses infuriates me. We always can't stand seeing the things we don't like about ourselves in other people. I also know that her parenting was the primary influence behind I was an extremely obese child and teenager. I finally lost 130 pounds in my late 20s, early 30s, but have gained back 30 pounds in the last year. I have got to get my own stuff back under control because my almost 3-year-old doesn't deserve the same fate. I don't want to break couches, or chairs, or toilets, or rip holes in my nice clothing. I've been moving like a freight train in that direction, though. I hate to use my mother for motivation to not be like that, but I cannot be like that. How can I find peace with what she's doing to herself? This is so frustrating. New ham workmate won't let me sleep. I'm a 32-year-old female who works in a facility where we go on duty for 1 week and are on call 24/7 for possible procedures. We stay inside a call room while waiting to be called in for the procedures. I recently have a new workmate, Ham, who's making life very difficult for me. She just started working this week, and I already can see myself changing schedules just to avoid her. Anyway, Hammy is about 4'10" and 300 pounds or so. She's not at all approachable and is very condescending. I tried talking to her the first time I met her, and she just snubbed me. I don't know what I did wrong. Her attitude really didn't offend me, but it made me wary of interacting with her in any way. When I have the time to stay in the call room, I notice she's very lazy compared to my other coworkers, who have the same designation as her. She just lies in bed 70% of the time. I can't help but compare her to my other workmates who are a lot more active and hands-on in their work. Being sort of lean, I have difficulty handling the cold. I tend to fidget around and do YouTube workouts during my free time just to reduce some body heat, because she tends to turn down the temperature of the AC to very low levels. I wish I have the same insulation as her, as I'm very uncomfortable and find it hard to do anything while shivering despite blankets and jackets. Ham also snores very loudly, and it reverberates to the other beds. I can't sleep at night. I can tolerate snoring in my other roommates, but hers is different. It's like she changes the rhythm of her snoring every 10 minutes, which makes it difficult for me to desensitize myself. There are times, too, when she's still awake, and yet she snores? I'm trying to sleep earlier than her so I can avoid her snoring, but I'm having a hard time staying alert in the morning, so I drink more coffee. Now I'm finding it more difficult to sleep at night. She, on the other hand, sleeps automatically after plopping down in her bed. Then she tortures me with this surround sound snoring until it's already 4 a.m. and I have to force myself to sleep. That would be rough. Sleep is the most precious thing on earth. I love me some sleep. I need me some sleep. My obese family is hurting my vacation. I know this post may come off as first world problems, and I'm blessed just to have a family who can afford a resort trip to Cancun, but my family's obesity is really limiting my experience, and it makes me upset. I, 18-year-old female, am the lone thin person in a very obese family. My dad's the most in shape, but he's still 250 with a beer gut. My mom is around 300 on a 5'4" frame, and my little brother, 16-year-old male, is already 350, and my older brother, 20-year-old male, is by far the biggest of our family and is just about 550 on his just 5'10" frame. Like I said, very big family. And don't get me wrong, I love them all to death, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. But I'm just really annoyed at how sedentary they all are. We're a Mexican family, and we vacation here a lot, but I've never been on a hike, mountain climbing, or even gotten to surf because none of my family is able to do anything with me. Sure, we have fun, and I do love enjoying local cuisine, but honestly, if the activity doesn't involve food or drinking, they won't do it. Heck, even getting my brothers to swim with me in the pool is a chore. Of course, I want them to lose weight so they can be healthy, but on a selfish level, I want to be able to spend quality active time with them. I mean, fuck, is it too much to ask for a girl to spend quality time with her loved ones? And this is one of the less obvious downsides of being obese or having an obese family, as you miss out on a lot of quality time with your kids, with your parents, and it can be discouraging. Even when your parents are in good health, if they're just not willing to do active things, you end up just sitting around and talking whenever you visit. And as great as talking is to your family, sometimes you do want to go out and visit local interesting sites, museums even. But when walking becomes such a chore that they would really rather just sit, eat, and watch YouTube together, it can put a damper on the relationship and on how much fun you're able to have with the people around you. This one's called A Happy Hammy Honeymoon. This past year, my husband and I took a cruise for our honeymoon after we got married. We'd planned it so there were no school breaks in the surrounding areas, so there wouldn't be a whole lot of children or college kids. The result of this choice left us with fellow passengers made up of fellow honeymooners, homeschooled families, and a very large quantity of very large people. 93% of the passengers were morbidly obese. I live in the Bible Belt South and regularly shop at Walmart, so if I notice it at all, it's safe to say they were incredibly large. This isn't really any specific stories, just a couple of things that we witnessed. First off, the elevators. There were sets of 8 elevators on each end of the ship. There were constantly insane waits on each floor for them, at least 20 people waiting each time. 3 to 10 was the range of the floors, and since we were on the 6th, it was easy for us to just take the stairs to whatever floor we wanted to go on. We only saw maybe 5 to 10 other people on the stairs for the entire 5 days we were on board. This ended up being really wonderful, because we could just jog up to the 9th floor, grab a snack, and head back to our room before 1/8 of the people waiting could even grab an elevator. Waiting. We never really had to wait in lines except for meals. We both got up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. is rarely sleeping in, so this wasn't an issue at breakfast, but it was not fun trying to find somewhere to eat at the other times. However, this meant no lines in the arcade, casino, or the games they had on the top floor. Barely anyone got off the boat for stops. Our boat stopped at 2 different islands, with the first one being a private island stop. I was surprised at how few people actually got off. Maybe a quarter of the passengers. When we got back on after swimming for about 3 hours, we still had to wait in a super long line for food. It looked like everyone was just stayed here to eat. Ultra ham. One Ham Planet woman was the absolute worst, and somehow we kept bumping into her. She was incredibly rude to the servers at the dining room dinner, yelled at one man about the portion sizes. The portions were normal, just not American normal. She also didn't have to freak out. You can have seconds or even thirds or whatever the hell you want. All you have to do is ask. She also stepped in front of a man with no legs so she could get in the elevator first. There was absolutely no way his mobility chair could fit in there with her, and she had to know that. He probably had to wait another 15 minutes for another elevator. She's also gotten a rotten hole behind her knee and still got in the hot tub, which solidified why I hate hot tubs. We still had a blast in the end, though. Oh god, yeah, public pools, public hot tubs, any place where, like, multiple people are going to be in is, a little scary. I don't even like getting pedicures or anything like that, just in case the water's been reused. You never know what's in there. Some kind of flesh-eating bacteria or something. All right, this next one is called Mother Ham Excuses. Today in the chocolate aisle. So I was in the chocolate aisle today where there were $1 specials on specific chocolate bars. A big fat ham woman is there and is talking to the shop clerk about some buy one, get one free or some such, and is inadvertently talking to me as well because of it. Now, being skinny, I noticed how it's a thing for hams to do and say and act certain ways around me. Oh, it's a thing, and I'm telling you, and I should know. I've lived it long enough, and I've seen all there is to see. I found that it's a thing for hams to either, 1, point out their weight, as if they want you to know they realize it or something, IDK, and 2, make either a self-deprecating joke about their eating habits or some excuse about their eating habits. Well, this one is no different. She chose the latter, but you'll never get what excuse she made, and it made me so mad. Feeling the need to explain her purchase, I really wouldn't have cared. She's better off keeping her mouth shut. She says, "Gotta get some quick energy for my kids." I must have looked at her funny because she went on to say, "Oh, they have sports carnival all week. They need quick energy foods." Incredulous, but trying to still keep it polite as this woman's, it's her job to raise her children, not mine. I say, "Why don't you buy them some muesli bars or something?" Thinking that as unhealthy as packaged muesli bars are, it's gotta be a step up from chocolate bars for energy on a sports day. She says, "Oh, they won't need that stuff." I say, feeling angry for those doomed children, "You know, chocolate bars don't give you energy. It actually works the opposite way." But deep down, I know it's useless and there's nothing I can say. After that conversation was over, she got distracted. I left, but it left me with a bitter taste in my mouth. It makes me angry to think about her excuses and her poor children. I mean, if she felt the need to explain herself in front of me, then she must know deep down that she's doing something wrong, right? Anyway, I had to come home and vent that little interaction I had at the supermarket today. It's hard to observe something you know is wrong and you know you can do absolutely nothing to change it. I feel sad for the kids. Does this count as FPS? Horror from TLC Obesity Show. For the ones out there, like me, who have a lot of weight to lose and are working on it, do any of you guys do this? Thinspo doesn't do much for me. I have to scare the living shit out of myself to keep me motivated. And it seems to work. So I've always on the lookout for obesity shows on YouTube. It helps me understand that I may be in a bad place now, but if I don't keep working to improve my health and lose weight, I could end up like the guy I saw on YouTube the other day. Apparently, this is a show similar to My 600-Pound Life, but this one features entirely more super morbidly obese families now? Jesus. Anyway, this extremely obese man and his almost equally extremely obese sister were on their way to pick up a stack of pizzas for a family potluck. The guy parked the car and started walking to the pizza place. He had the biggest, longest, saggiest hanging panis I've ever seen. It literally hung to his knees as he walked, or tried to. All you could see was this gigantic flap of flesh bouncing and swaying with every step. My immediate thought was, Christ, that's like carrying around an entire extra person clinging to your waist. I can only imagine the crippling back pain this guy must have had, not to mention the skin infections. So they ordered 10 pizzas, ate 5 on the way back, and then the potluck got underway. With the exception of one skinny guy, not one member of that family must have weighed any less than 400 pounds. There was one woman who was so obese she couldn't leave her bed. Enough food was consumed to feed an entire third world village, which was sickening enough to witness. But then we see this guy again, sitting in a chair, and the sheer size and weight of his panis was literally ripping a hole in his pants. You can see it hanging through the fabric, nearly touching the floor. TLC didn't post the entire episode, but by the time I had seen enough, if I ever needed an incentive to stay focused on my weight loss, that was it. Life is hard enough with my excess weight. I can't begin to imagine how badly life must suck when you're that obese. I've saved the post and plan to rewatch it periodically as reinforcement. Works for me. Now, I'll say this doesn't seem like the healthiest way to motivate yourself to lose weight. The fear of being that fat, it's a good motivator, I suppose, but ultimately you have to want it for reasons other than fear. Hopefully you get to that point and it becomes really sustainable. Otherwise, you can get to a moderately healthy weight, maybe just in the overweight category, and it's easy to think, okay, well now I'm so far away from them that like this is fine. But even just being clinically overweight can damage your joints and put you at a higher risk for certain diseases. I myself am trying really hard to get out of the overweight category and into the normal range, and I hope this person does too, and finds a healthy way to do it that won't leave them perhaps psychologically, I'm not a doctor or a psychologist or anything of the like. I'm just a fat girl trying to lose weight, so we'll leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a comment, like, subscribe if you want to see more. All right, bye.